You obviously have dogs.
Yes.
What type of dogs do you have?
I have 3 border collies.
Now, I said to somebody yesterday, I'm coming to this disc dog challenge, and they said, I bet it's going to be all border collies. And you have 3 border collies.
Mm-hmm.
So is it going to be all border collies?
No.
So is it any breed?
I just like border collies. Yeah, any breed can play. There's no bias. We've had anything from bully mixes to, there's 3 Jack Russells that are going to be here this weekend. There's lots of mixed dogs, mixes like whippet mixes and stuff like that.
Throwing a Frisbee with your dog is an enormously popular pastime. It's also a growing sport, especially here in Nova Scotia. Today on NSK9, we're at the Maritime Disc Dog Cup in Great Village. I mean, I'm looking at this and going, okay, you got a big soccer field basically, and it even looks like it's lined like a soccer field, like if you were to look at it from the air.
Yep.
Tell me what we're going to see this weekend. Because there's all different kinds of sports.
Yeah,
or
different games.
Different games,
there's
right.
different rules for all the games. So there's the first 2 that we're going to do are pairs games. So there will be 2 people, 1 dog, and then however many discs the game requires. And they'll play to get points. And then there's the freestyle game today that will include tricks and jumps and vaults and stuff like that, choreographed to music.
That sounds fun.
It's a lot of work to prepare, but yes.
And to learn, I would think.
Yes, yeah, you've got to be pretty dedicated.
Wow.
And then the other games are, one of them is you have to throw the disc beyond certain lines to gather points in order. So a countdown game. And your points add up and then you get them doubled when you make a sequence. And then the last game is a distance game where you have to throw as far as you can, get a catch, and your catches add together.
So do you have to handicap the dogs for the different competitions?
Nope.
So I would have thought...
I do different classes.
All right.
So for over 18 inches, under 18 inches, but I'm not required to do that.
Really?
I can group everybody in together if I want to, but I like giving out more prizes.
Melanie's work life largely revolves around dogs, but today, her property near the shore of the Cobequid Bay is set up for one of her pastimes, the growing sport of disc dog.
I board dogs, I do daycare, I'm a dog trainer, and I do behavior consulting, and I do disc dog for fun.
For fun. You
Yes.
have a very large field, though, set up for something for fun.
Yes.
And this is the Maritime Disc Dog Championship?
Cup. Yep.
So how did this start?
In 2010 or 11, Andre and Elizabeth Landry, they had brought disc to the Maritimes, and they figured that we needed something to celebrate at the end of the year, because it's mainly a summer sport here because snow and ice doesn't exactly let us play with the dogs. Yeah, so they decided that they needed an event at the end of the year to kind of wrap things up, and they started doing it. And they originally did it in October. I started taking over in 2017, I think is when I took over running the cup, and it's been here every year since.
There are many reasons people get into this sport, advancing from just tossing a Frisbee in the backyard to throwing, catching, and developing routines involving discs with their canine companions.
My wife Melanie, who you spoke to earlier, told me one Friday evening that she was going to a disc dog tournament, chasing Frisbees, and I thought, what a stupid thing to do on a Saturday. And it was sometime after that that I tagged along, and here we are throwing Frisbees.
Years ago, I was actually doing agility classes, and my instructor was actually played disc, and he just kind of threw a Frisbee for my dog one day, and she went out really far out and caught it, and he's like, you should probably try disc. So that's kind of where we started, is we didn't end up doing agility, we just went right to disc. So I've been doing it about 10 years now. So
I was a ball player for a long time, played other sports too, and threw my arm out, and I had border collies. And started getting into disc and loved every second of it, and didn't ever
how
look
did you
back.
find out about disc?
I found out through a friend of mine, Sean O'Hanley, who started playing it with Andre Landry, and yeah, she got me into it, and yeah, I love it.
I didn't know what to expect, I guess, when I went there the first time. If I recall, it was on the Tim Hortons field in Bible Hill, Truro, and it was just a bunch of strangers, and nerves were high, but went out and did it.
In disc dog, you'll get different opinions on whether the sport is more challenging for the dog or the handler.
It's more of a mental thing for the person, I think, to make sure they put out a throw good enough to catch. But
I always say I always have the easy job, standing there. Well, all I have to do is throw the disc. The dog's the one who's got to gauge the wind, he's got to track it, he's got to catch it. Kudos are always to the dogs. Yeah.
So I heard a rumor that you have a record.
Oh, yeah, I have a couple of them actually.
So tell me about those.
I have the CDDA, which is another disc organization in Canada, the outdoor furthest catch record, and I have the indoor record with the same organization. Yep.
So how does that make you feel to be a record holder?
That is amazing. Like, that was probably the best highlight of my sport career. And like I said, I played a lot of sports over the years, but that was amazing. Yeah.
And you actually have a record now.
with CDDA out of Ontario, yes, I have a distance record.
So what is it that attracted you to this sport?
I think it's the competition. Once you win something, then you challenge yourself to go try and get further.
We're still learning a lot about this. We're not entirely sure, but there's a lot of different components that play a part. So it could be anything from the morphology of their face. If they have a longer muzzle or snout and the ball or toy is right in the line of vision, they just might not see it because the nose is in the way. They also have limited color perception, so blue and yellow is typically what they see. There's some discussion whether or not they can see between or tell the difference between green and red and maybe even yellow, and there's some thought that they can. But if you have, say, a green ball in the green grass, they might not be able to see that. If it's moving, they may have a better, chance of seeing it. But if it's sitting there still, that could be another reason why they're not seeing. Other things, they don't have really good visual acuity or clarity compared to people. Their depth perception is lower compared to people. And then in some breeds too, we have, or we don't, animals have a layer in the back of their eye called the tapetum. And its purpose is to reflect light. So it, especially in low light situations, it increases the dog's ability to see better in low light because it's reflecting more light into those photoreceptors. So the general thought are smaller dogs typically have a smaller tapetum. Larger dogs, maybe it's larger in relation to their size, although dogs like Lab Retrievers, they have smaller tapetum than we would expect they'd have, and some don't have them at all. So if they're in a low light situation and depending on their makeup that way, they may not see.
This must be one of your dogs?
Yes, that's Pete. He's 17 and a half, 17 months old.
Oh, 17 months old. Okay, so he's young.
Yes.
So he doesn't have any titles yet.
Not really, no. This is his first cup. Last year he ran at the cup a little bit. Just
he'll
a
be
few
competing
games,
this
because he was
weekend?
just a baby. Yes, my husband's competing with him this
Oh, there you go.
weekend.
Do you trust your husband to compete on your behalf?
Oh yeah, he's good.
Devotees of disc dog will come a long way to participate in events and reconnect with friends.
People come from a long way to come here.
Oh yeah. This is like our Super Bowl, more or less, or our World Series. So yeah, and it's wonderful. We're just hoping that the weather holds out and
It'll be game day.
it'll be game day. Yeah, for sure.
We generally have to travel quite far. Like a couple weekends ago, I went up to Petitcodiac to compete.
Oh, wow. And people watching the show may not realize we're in Great Village, which is not exactly close to anything, right?
No,
really. It isn't a 5-minute trip from the city, right? So, but this is really where the competitions happen in Nova Scotia too, right? Like they're,
mainly yes. There are competitions down in Windsor as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is a sport that people are dedicated to, and behind us a camper has rolled in, and
Yep.
so people, this is a thing for the weekend, and
Yes.
they will park themselves here on your property for the weekend, and
We should have 7 campers here this weekend.
really, wow,
And I know there's people arriving here. It's going to take them 4 hours to get here this morning.
wow.
So it's.
How does that make you
Lovely.
feel, though, that people will come to you? You're organizing this, and people are coming 4 hours to come perform here.
That's a lot of pressure.
Are you nervous?
Well, I gotta get everything right?
When Melanie's not organizing events in her own backyard, she travels herself to compete in disc dog.
I've competed at the national level up in Ontario. My 10-year-old dog actually has a national championship
Wow.
in Frisbee. It's hard to find places to go unless you want to travel into the States.
Okay. So is it bigger in the States?
It's a lot bigger in the States, yeah. So Skyhounds is one of the big competitions, and we've only actually had one Skyhounds competition here, and I think it was in 2012 or 13. So it was a while ago.
Yeah.
And so down there, Skyhounds is huge. And I think they gather in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Why do you think
But
it's
it's
so much
huge
bigger
now.
there?
I have no idea.
So you have competed nationally in this, obviously, or
Yep.
in other provinces.
2013, we went to Ontario to compete in nationals.
So where do you see the future of this sport, sort of generally?
I don't know. Since we've switched over to up dog, it seems to have grown quite a bit. And with COVID, kind of shut down some of the other sports because it's more close quarters inside, fly ball and that. A lot of these
People
people
are finding this.
have found this, and I believe they're enjoying it.
There is travel, friends, laughter. But most of all, like many dog sports, disc dog is about the bond between dog and human. And in a building only steps from the field hang ribbons, reminders of a dog that had a particularly special place in the hearts of Stephen and Melanie.
These memories mean a lot to you then. They're more than just ribbons.
It's more the dog than the ribbon. The 2 white and gold centered ribbons are Hank's ribbons. Those are his high and trial ribbons that he won. The up dog one and the red one in the center are Riley's ribbons.
Hank was a special dog. We used to laugh and say that he had a GPS on him on the disc because it didn't matter how I threw or where I threw, that dog was there ready to get that disc. He saved me a lot of times.
Yeah, Hank was one of a kind.
What made him one of a kind?
He could do anything.
Wow.
He was incredibly intelligent, probably above average for a border collie.
And border collies are intelligent to start.
They are, yes. Like he knew over 150 behaviors on cue. I also spent a lot of time training him, but he was extremely intelligent. Yeah, he was very special. And that was 2 years ago that I lost him.
So it wasn't that long ago either.
No,
And how long did you have him?
he was only 9.
Oh, he was young.
Yeah,
Oh, that's very sad.
that was hard.
Yeah,
That was the hardest part,
yeah,
is that he was only 9. He was still in his prime.
yeah. So it is really about the bond between
It is.
person and
yeah.
dog as much as it is about
Yeah,
the sport.
Hank was at the very first cup. I competed with him and I got 4th place overall. And we had been competing for a month at that point.
Wow.
That's how awesome he was. He never dropped anything, he caught everything. It didn't matter how terribly I threw, because at that point I was a month into playing and I didn't know how to throw a Frisbee properly. And he never missed.
A dog's collar, you should always be able to slip 2 fingers between the dog's neck and the collar. It shouldn't be so tight that there's no give to the collar, you can't rotate it or you can't get your fingers under it, but it also shouldn't be loose enough that your dog can slip their head out. And we see that a lot in vet medicine. As soon as we bring a patient out into treatment, they'll put the brakes on and slip their head right out. So if they can do that, it's too loose. So if ever your dog has come back and their collar's tighter than it was when they came out with us, that would be the reason, because they're just slipping their head out. So, other than being at the vet, if they're outdoors and there's another dog that they're afraid of, or a car makes a loud noise, they can do that in the parking lot and run off too. So it's safer to have it properly fit.
Set, go.
A couple of months have passed and the jackets are out, the pumpkins are here, it's Halloween, and we're continuing with Disc Dog here in Great Village.
I started playing flyball first in Fredericton, and then a lot of the people that play flyball also do disc. So I was like, yeah,
It does seem common
try
together.
it out. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'll try it out. And my dog's I don't know what personality I'm gonna get on the day. So sometimes he does really well. He's pretty focused today, actually, which isn't too bad. He's kind of crazy.
Nicole is one of many in the disc dog community who has become a judge to help further the sport.
I'm a judge as well. A few of us have gotten certified, so I started getting them, but you've got to watch them, you've got to play. They can be confusing. They like their confusing rules.
Yeah.
And they like to write out the rules in weird ways so that they're more confusing.
Well, I remember that from the Disc Dog Cup.
Yeah.
Going through and going oh my God, there's pages of these rules.
Well, so the next game, which is called Time Warp, seems like it should be simple. It's kind of not. It's just you throw to zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, but then there's the extra shot and there's the whole timing and you have to have the last caught Frisbee go across the line to stop time.
This strikes me as a very complicated sport.
Right? Not the last thrown, the last caught. So that's where the confusion comes with it. But Greedy's fun to watch, but it seems really complicated when you just look at the rules, but it's actually not too bad.
Is to complete 3 catches in each of the zones, 1, 2, and 3, then finish with the last disc caught by the dog and yourself back behind the line to stop time.
If you have qualified judges, you can do things like they have something called Bike Club, which is a weekly thing where you play a couple of these games instead of a full tournament, and you can only do it if you have judges, and that way 3 of us got certified so that we could all play, because if you're judging, you can't play.
Judging is, of course, not where new participants of the sport start. For them, it's choosing a disc, which can sometimes be as complex as the rules of disc dog itself.
I usually help them pick out a disc because this can be overwhelming if you're not used to playing Frisbee, because I usually kind of get them to start out with something that's a bit cheaper, and then if they like it, they can come back and get the more expensive, more durable disc. Yeah. But there's no really classes or anything around here, but...
Well, that's what I was wondering, because unlike there are flyball classes.
Yeah, there's flyball, there's a lot of agility.
This is a learn yourself kind of thing.
It kind of is, yep. So, you know what I mean, most of us are kind of self-taught.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to learn this with their dog?
Well, I would learn how to throw a disc first before you take your dog out. So go out, practice your throws, learn how to throw a disc. Because it's all about the safety for the dog too. So learn how to throw, then take your dog out. So throw 50 discs and 3 for your dog. And just have fun.
People are really picky about their discs.
Yes, depends on your dog, if it's got a soft bite, a hard bite, if you're throwing for distance, if you're doing freestyle, so it all depends on
So these aren't just like regular Frisbees that I pick up at Toys R Us.
Nope, they're not. They're a dog-safe disc, so it means that they're soft, they're pliable, they're not going to puncture their teeth, their mouth, they're not going to cut. Most of the ones you get in store would be plastic, so they would shatter as soon as the dog were to grab it. So these are all dog-safe.
So you can start off with rollers, which is you're rolling the disc on its edge, and that kind of kicks in their prey drive. So they'll catch it, and they also learn how to catch it on its edge.
All right.
So that's a great
challenge.
way. Yeah.
And then they just build up from there.
And they build up from there. Yeah. And like these guys here, there's some of the best in the Maritimes here. So.
Ready?
Out of all the sports and everything I've done, competing horses and stuff like that, I find the atmosphere is really friendly. We're competitive, but we're also cheering everybody on or carrying on, and everybody really gets along with everybody, so I really like that aspect of it. I can only see it growing, because the last year or 2 years, it's grown substantially.
What's your hope for the future of this? Especially
just growth, getting new teams, getting new players, because it's not going to continue if you don't always have new players walking onto the field. That's probably the biggest thing, getting kids interested. My 6-year-old plays toss and fetch with my 17-month pup. And they have a blast.
We have a lot of young players coming up, and I think it's going to get bigger and bigger every year.
I mean, we're all just here to have fun with our dogs. We all want to do well, obviously. We're all competitive inside, but at the end of the day, we just want our dogs to have fun, and, that's really what it's all about.
We're a big family. Everybody roots for everybody else.
Everybody does seem to know each other, too.
Yeah, and I mean, we're competitive, of course, but we want to see everybody else do well. And just to have the connection with your dog is fantastic.
The people are phenomenal. You make a lot of friends. We're a very tight-knit group. Here and in Fredericton, there's a very tight-knit group there. And so we all come together at the end of the year and we do this.
This must take a lot of work to organize.
It does, yeah.
Is it worth it?
It's worth every minute, but I'm gonna need a lot of coffee Monday.
Well, they certainly aren't the old-fashioned portraits of dogs. That's next week on NSK9.
I've been run over by a couple dogs. I always say if I leave a chute dry and clean, it didn't go well. So, I mean, this is just the start of today. But I tend to try and get as low as I can, right? Because that's the angle.